This podcast is recorded on Aboriginal land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. Welcome back to the Radical Online Leftist Pipeline podcast special episode. We've got comedian, actor, all-around cool guy, Greg Larsen on the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm getting ready for the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and it's 2 days out, and I'm stressed as fuck.
I since I told people that you were coming on the show from last night, my partner, everyone's been asking, Greg, does Greg have a show? People have been emailing us. Does Greg have a show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival this year? And you do. And tickets are available now.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, tickets are available now. There is zero advertising behind it. I have no posters. I have no flyers. I have paid for no publicity in any way, shape, or form. It's a short run. It's a half run. So I'm doing 10 shows. Like normally at the comedy festival, you do like 22. I'm just doing 10. And it's a brand new show that is kind of crazy. And yeah, it's on. It exists and it's on sale.
It's undeniably a show people can buy tickets to. So from the 27th, this Thursday, it's called Geggy. I just want to read from the description here. Geggy, 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 Geggy. So if that sounds like your thing,
yeah,
get a ticket. By all means.
It's hard to, because you have to write those descriptions in the title like long before you've even decided what the fuck your show's going to be. Yeah. So I just went Geggy, Geggy, Geggy.
I was thinking about that today actually, because I saw a poster for, I think it was Paul Foote, and he had his show called Dissolve. And I was like, there is a very good chance an intern came up with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like at that level, they don't give a shit. It's just like, I'll get to Australia and do some comedy. Can you do the title, the advertising, the graphics, all of it, and make it look like it's a special thing for Melbourne? Because it's not.
Or just AI. Like it'll be all AI now. Just do a poster, do a name, Dissolve. That sounds like something. Do it.
Yeah. Slot comedy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have you on the show basically since we started the show. You've been one of my favorite comedians for a fucking long time, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God.
But Greg, how do you do it? No. But the thing that I really wanted to chat with you about is this turn, or even what you might call a snap, that happened on your podcast a little while ago, which really fucking gelled with me and this show that I'm doing and my co-hosts and everything else. Yeah. But just to give some context for people. So you had this podcast up and running, and we've got like some shows here that like July 1st, the show was Chatting with the Fellas. July 9th, Skit Riff City Limits. Right? Bit of a break. November 6th, Travel Diaries Deutschland.
Yep.
And then November 29th, Eat the Rich.
Yeah.
The next show, Is This the End Times? The next show, Defend, Deny, Depose, or That's How They Get You.
Yeah.
So what happened there with that turn to explicitly, I wouldn't even call it political comedy. I'd call it funny politics. But considering also like you talk about how like you sort of used to do political comedy and then didn't really want to anymore. So what spurred this just fucking full-throated, nah, fuck yous approach to it?
Yeah, a lot of things. And that's the thing. I've always sort of bounced between doing like political and or comedy with like political and or social messages, and then not wanting to do that at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've constantly bounced between that ever, because like when I first started doing comedy, I was at uni, I was studying sociology, and so like at the time, comedy was kind of like a break from that. So I was just doing weird characters and dumb stuff. And then I was feeling sort of unfulfilled. And then I sort of do it. And then I'll go back and forth. But then I get frustrated because you say anything political or anything with it, and then you got the death threats, and then you got like people getting mad at you. There was a time, like I was on a TV show called Tonightly where I called this conservative politician a cunt on the air. And then I just got so many death threats and like people saying they were going to tie me down with a belt sander and all this kind of stuff.
Fucking hell.
And like that doesn't bother me as much as like, but also then other people get mad at you. Like, you know, I'm a massive big time lefty, and for listeners, like there is a communist banner behind me.
So let's have a quick detour on this too. So framed behind Greg Larsen is just, it's not even just a communist flag per se. It's a red flag with a hammer and sickle and a star and a big picture of Marx painted on it.
The full thing, it's like, that's only half of it because it's sort of folded in half in two ways. There's like Marx, Trotsky, Lenin, and Stalin. Stalin, I would argue, is one of the more controversial figures.
I've heard of this. I've heard some. Yeah, people have mixed feelings towards Stalin.
Yeah, he was a complicated man.
The controversies tab on his Wikipedia.
This is a banner I got, like, because I just keep like this was a prop from a show I did a few years ago. And in the show, about halfway through the show, I had a joke about communism and how, like, you know, we didn't give it enough goes. And I think the joke was something along the lines of like, yeah, it didn't work out in the Soviet Union, but like, you know, it didn't. The first time I tried to beat the boss in Dark Souls, I failed. Like, you gotta give it like heaps of goes. And then, like in the show, I say I'm not a communist. Don't worry, blah blah blah. And then at the end of the show, there's a flip where I go, I actually am a communist. Let's drink. Let's turn the rivers red with the blood of our enemies. And then the banner would drop from the ceiling. It was funny at the time, and this banner would drop from the ceiling. And then because, you know, like I keep all like my props and stuff, and I have them around. I just sort of kept, and it's a good quality banner, and like it costs like money to get. And then I've just sort of moved my desk around, and I recently like hung it up on the window, so it was like it's a curtain, and I didn't even realize until I joined this meeting and you started laughing.
That's the thing.
I was like, oh yeah. Communist banners behind me.
Because we've had a couple of things on the show where like people have put fun things behind them for the video aspect of the show. And I thought it was like, oh, I'm going on a show called Radical Online Leftist Pipeline. I'll put up this funny banner. And the look of bemusement on your fucking face, like what? Why is that funny?
Well, I've just got
Trotsky and Stalin staring down at me. It's just normal. It's how I live now.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
But so we were talking about like you were getting sort of, you know, death threats for doing. Is that why? The reason I want to ask is that why you wanted to stop doing that sort of comedy? Is that there does seem to be a strain in Australian comedy, at least that's the context I know, of like a detached irony. Where I know plenty of leftist comedians who almost like dedicatedly don't use their platform to say shit. Where even ironically, they have really strong opinions and then don't use them. So why have you used them in the past? Why do you fall away from that? Not even obligation, but just like that ability to do so. And then why have you gone so fucking hard in the last little bit?
Well, I can tell you the reason why I sometimes shy away from it. And I think there's a few reasons. And to me, honestly, it's not so much the death threats. Like sometimes it is. Like there's times where I've done shows where I'm like looking out and thinking, are there any neo-Nazis coming in? And there have been shows where like we actually got threats from neo-Nazis who did show up.
Fucking hell.
That was when we did a show called The True Australian Patriots, which was a parody of...
Fuck, I love that show, though.
Yeah.
That was with Ann Edmonds
and Damien Powell, yeah.
Fuck, that was good. Tanaki has talked about that as well. It's so,
that was one of my favorite shows that we ever did. And that was... we actually got death threats from a neo-Nazi that I won't name, but, you know, has been probably talked about on this podcast maybe.
Yeah.
Who did come to the show. And so, like, we had, like, producers that were putting it on, so they paid for security to come on, which was really cool.
Did he watch the show?
He watched the show.
Did he like it?
Left the show 20 minutes in and asked for a refund because he said it was racist against white people.
Fucking what a loser.
Yeah. What a fucking loser.
Fuck, that's good.
Yeah. So like, but that's not the stuff that really freaks me out. What freaks me out is like, not even freaks me out, but just it's making a political joke and then people like other lefties getting upset because I've said something in a way that they don't 100% agree with. And then I'm like, I don't, we're on the same side. I feel like, and then I just get stressed out. Like again, on Tonightly, we made a joke where we had shot a promo saying that a prominent neo-Nazi, again, I won't name him, but was going to appear on the show.
Yeah.
And the joke was that I would hold up an actual piece of shit and be like, yeah, he's here. He's here on the show. And what was funny is that went past the lawyers and they were like, you have to say he looks like a piece of shit, not he is a piece of shit. And then we're like, are we not allowed to call a Nazi a piece of shit? And then there was a problem because we had like a shit that looked real and they're like, it looks too real. You have to make it look fake. So we had to swap out the real shit with the fake shit. And I was like, and people were really upset because they didn't watch the show and they were like, why are you platforming Nazis and all the rest of it? And I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. I don't know. And like just the amount of tweets that I've made in the past where I'm just like, I don't know. I was trying to make a little joke and everyone's going like, and I would just like, if people start like trolling me, I just like block. And I don't even really think about it. And then people are like, why are you blocking us? Like, why are you trying to silence us? I'm like, oh man, I was trying to make a joke about, Macca's. Like, I don't know what, like,
yeah.
And I guess it's just like, I don't ever get nervous about doing a joke about cum like I do doing a joke about Israel. Like it's like, it's that sinking feeling in your stomach. Like, are people going to get upset at me for this? Am I going to get canceled for this? Am I going to get death threats? It just seems. And then also at the end of the day, it's got to be like I always want to do the funniest thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't want to be doing like smug political commentary going like Malcolm Turnbull, more like Malcolm Turncoat. Like I hate that sort of like twee ABC smug political comedy.
Yeah.
So like I want to avoid that as well.
Yeah.
And I just find that like sometimes the other thing is it's just a refreshing thing in my life to be able to make a joke about something that I don't feel really upset about. Like,
yeah.
Like sometimes for me, like, I mean, I have depression, I have anxiety, and sometimes I'm like, I don't want to, like, the news is depressing me. I want to make a joke about like, eating chicken nuggets. I don't want to make a joke about what's going on in the world right now because I just don't want to think about it that much. So sometimes for me, comedy is like, it's an escape. I'm like, I don't want to watch or make political comedy. But the reason that I did a sharp turn on my podcast and started doing it again a little bit is literally because I had just, there's like in that first episode, Eat the Rich, like two things had happened. One is my like landlord really fucked me over. And the other was I had an agent that was like a crook and really fucked me over.
Yeah, I heard about that. And not just you specifically, like that was a whole sort of like a crew of comedians were all signed to this one sort of agency or manager, and he just fucking, he bounced and left everyone in the lurch.
He fucked a lot of people over. And to be honest, he fucked me over the least because I had just signed with him. The only reason I was really fucked over was because I'd left my old agent and and he'd promised me things that were going to happen that weren't happening, and so suddenly I had no work, and but like, I was literally that first podcast where I made a turn. I literally didn't even prepare it. I just turned on the mic and went, I'm going to make some funny fart sounds on my, like, cause I've got like a thing that can make little sounds. I don't know if this comes through. It doesn't come through. Oh no, wait. Can you hear that?
I can hear that. I
don't know if it comes through on the recording, but anyway, I've got a little roadcaster.
And I can change my voice.
And, I just went, I'm going to talk about how much I hate all the landlords and the bosses and the people with a lot of money. And and I've started, and then that episode, lots of people listened to it, and I went, oh, maybe I'll just keep doing this for a bit. And I found it cathartic to just on a weekly basis, just like, rather than trying to get guests and trying to organize, because the podcast, I was doing it very infrequently.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to rant about things each week, and not always political. Like sometimes, like I just do some characters. Sometimes I just do just talk about stuff. Just shoot the shit. It's kind of like an insane man in a room alone recording into the void.
Well, yeah, because you've got a whole string of those shows at the time when it seems like you were just on a tear because it was what felt good for you to do, and also like it was funny. That's I think the other thing as well is that like you said, you're always going to go for the funny thing because ultimately you do comedy. You don't do commentary or and you can be an activist. You can be a fucking lot of people, but in your role as comedian, you should probably try to be funny at some point.
Yeah, totally. And that's the main goal. For me is like when I'm doing a show, when I'm doing anything is like, it's got to be funny. Like it can be interesting, it can be whatever, but it has to be funny. And I'd rather do a show with no narrative and it's not about anything and it's funny than one that isn't funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I found that interesting, you just talking about that though, like your landlord fucked you over, a boss fucked you over, and something that we've talked about on this non-comedy podcast about like material conditions tend to trump ideology. And it's just like you and like in your case, it's like you've got very good reasons for not doing political comedy. You've got legitimate fucking reasons, mental and physical safety, top front of mind. And then the world crushes you and it's like, you know what? Fuck this.
Yeah.
It's just, it has to, I have to express this somehow. This has to come out somehow.
Yeah.
And yet it still comes out in comedy. That's what I want to stress to anyone else listening. Check out the Greg Larsen show. That's the podcast. Go back to, they're all good, but I reckon go back to Eat the Rich and then go through them from there because you do have other ones like trying some new material, which is the last one I just listened to. Which again, like you've got the voice thing happening, and the whole show is you doing new bits you want to do in your live show is the conceit with this forlorn, melancholic piano constantly through the background with the worst, most obvious laugh track over the top, and it's demented. It has it has the most fever dream vibe to it, and like I think there's some politics in there, but I think like. The sort of the crossover in our audiences, I feel, is that like the vibe is still there. You can still sort of tell where your politics are, but like you said, you don't have to do all types of comedy because the other thing I wanted to sort of go back to is like there is that thing where if you're initially a political person or you're billed as a political comic, you open yourself up to, like you said, that sort of harsh criticism of not doing it right. And like, of all people to be able to get away with saying it's just a joke, comedians should have that leeway to sort of make jokes, and people should be able to look at the rest of either their body of work or their politics around and outside of comedy to go, oh, he clearly means well, he's having a bit of a joke at our expense or at something else. That's fine to do. Yeah.
And the other thing too is like inherently in the art form of comedy, at certain points you have to stretch the truth and or simplify an issue. And sometimes, if you're trying to make jokes about a political or a social issue, it can become hard because like you want to express it in a way that shows that you know what you're talking about, but at the same time that ruins the pacing of the gag and it's not actually funny.
Yeah.
So, sometimes there's issues that are hard to make jokes about purely from a structural perspective because it's like, oh, this requires too much explanation. And
yeah, right.
It's like, and I want people to know, and there's certain things as well where like, I don't know, people are on edge.
Yeah.
Where like you bring up a word and people, well, a perfect example, and this is not a comedy example, but I used to wear a t-shirt. It was it wasn't a Dead Kennedys t-shirt. It was a Dead Kennedys inspired rip-off t-shirt.
Yeah.
The Nazi punks fuck off. And it had like the swastika crossed out.
Yeah.
And that was on the shirt. And no one saw the swastika crossed out. Like they saw me wearing a swastika shirt.
Yeah.
Which at one point nearly got me beaten up. And at one point had a couple of dudes outside Hungry Jack's in Brisbane on, great shirt, mate. And I went, and at first I went, yeah, cheers. And I went, yeah, fucking. And then they started going on about Hitler. And I went, oh, nah, man.
And then in that point, you can't really go, oh, sorry, gents, I've got this crossed out, actually.
Well,
I'm diametrically opposed to that view.
what was funny is it was actually the tamest interaction because legitimately I go, oh no, I legitimately did say, oh no, the swastika is crossed out. And then like I just said that. I just went like, I wasn't even like in my head. It was just like a weird social interaction. And I wasn't even like clicking like, oh, this is a Nazi.
It's just awkward.
It's just, I'm awkward. And I said, no, the swastika's crossed out. And then he said, oh, well, it shouldn't be. And then just walked off. Like it was like, that's the kind of like conflict you dream about.
Greg Larsen owns Nazi outside Hungry Jack's.
Yeah.
It's just, and just like, he's also feeling really awkward because he's talking to a stranger about a shirt he misinterpreted. It's less about Nazism and more just about like, oh, I saw it wrong. Oh no. Oh, that's embarrassing. Shit.
And that's the thing, like there's certain subjects and certain topics that like, it's hard to even talk about in comedy because it's like once people hear a certain word, the blinders are on, you know, and it's like, and then you got things like, you know, I don't know if you talked about this, but do you know, like Tom Ballard was in the news because he did the fucking. I put that in our chat of like, we should get him on and like grill him the whole time as if it's serious. Like as if we genuinely think Tom Ballard is a neo-Nazi. Yeah.
Like, the full context was he was on stage and he was like doing Sig Heils on stage, like mocking.
And that's the full context.
Yeah, that's the context.
That's the context.
No, the Sig Heils were crossed out.
Yeah.
But no, so like, and he was doing it like making a joke in context about how like fucked it is, which like, I think that went nowhere after the first day because no one thought it was legitimate. I think everyone saw like comedian Sig Heils on comedy stage and everyone goes, oh, well, fuck, it was probably for a joke, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'd say like, and I think the joke was, it was even simpler. That was just like about hand positioning, like really high is just like hello, then evil. And then like, gay, and he's like gay, so he can go gay.
He's also a Nazi, so he can do the middle one.
And he's exactly. It's just shit like that where you're just like, oh, you know, it's easier to just avoid every kettle of worms and can of worms, kettle of fish, whatever, and just not do political stuff. But then sometimes you just get real mad. And then you go crazy and you do an hour-long podcast called Eat the Rich. And, but that's the thing as well. I'll never, like, I might post something serious about politics on social media in the future, but I will never. I mean, I deleted Twitter or X or whatever the fuck. But I will never make a political post on any form of social media again.
Yeah.
Purely because I'm like, there's no, to me, there's no point. It's like, I can't express an opinion in, you know, X amount of characters. It's not worth it. And also I hate social media and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But when I do like, you know, an hour long podcast or a festival show, it's like, yeah, cool. I can talk in detail about a thing. Cool. I feel comfortable.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's because, and like I was going to ask with the podcast too, like you've got a more of a structure of like, it's just you talking into a mic and it goes out without a comment section per se. People can still talk about it, but it sort of goes out independently. And then at a comedy festival, people are coming to see you specifically. Yeah. Does that feel safer in a way?
Yeah, it does. And it feels safer as well in the sense that because it's not this like tiny little clip or this tiny little tweet.
Yeah.
It's like, even if I do say something fucked and then be like, that comes out wrong, I can be like, oh, wait a minute. That's not what I meant. You know, you can kind of backtrack and explain yourself a little bit. And also just in terms of tone and everything, people can sense the vibe, if that makes sense.
That's what I was going to ask too, because like you can backtrack and you can justify things to yourself. But I found also in comedy, and because I used to do comedy a while ago, I'm still doing band stuff, and I feel like a big part of it, and this is where comedians sort of get caught out, is that when you're in a live setting, you don't have to justify everything. If you've just done 20 minutes of something establishing a tone or a vibe or your politics or whatever, you then don't have to get to the next bit and entirely reset. You can just continue on with what out of context sounds fucked.
Yeah.
And that's the joy of the live experience. But I think that's what's like gotten pretty fucked with social media specifically.
Yeah.
Is that like, but other people can experience it without that context. And they can experience it mediated through their phones. They can also have it attached to a comment that's like, look at fucking Greg Larsen. What a fucking liberal voting cunt he is. Ah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, and I mean, a perfect example, right, is like, I can't remember who, like, what. There's a tweet I made ages ago, and I still, because I think about, you know, I'm one of those people that lies in bed and thinks about every social interaction and every fucking
mull it over
thing. But I remember ages ago, I made a tweet that was, I think I talked about this on my podcast at some point, but like I was in a Macca's drive-through, as I tended to be, but communism stuff, yeah, it's all good, but.
But
I was in a Macca's.
You want a Big Mac.
Sometimes you want a Big Mac and a fucking McFlurry, you know. I hate McDonald's, boycott. But I was in there. I was in there because I'm a piece of shit. And while I was waiting, there was like a big car meet going on. All these fucking like big hotted up cars and all these dudes like revving their engines, like real boys. You know, the boys are out.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I thought this was funny at the time, but I thought it was funny to be like, oh, I just found like a nest of like those car guys. Can't the council like lay poison or something for them? Like, and it was just like, if I was telling that on stage, I would have gone, can the council poison these guys? Like, what are you talking about here? Like, I'm just fucking around.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And it wasn't even that funny. It, like Twitter to me was always like disposable. Like,
yeah,
this is a place to like test out a bit. And if it doesn't work, then whatever.
Yeah.
And all these like, and heaps of people were like retweeting going like, yeah, when a fucking inner city, like lefty, doesn't like clearly is racist and hates the working class. Like, and people started calling me racist and like a sort of like an elite anti-working class. Like other lefties were like saying that I was like against the working classes because I don't like cars and, you know, and I'm like, man, I'm just fucking eating a McFlurry. These guys' cars cost way more than my car. Like, I don't know. Like, these guys have like $1 million cars. Like, but also, I don't know. It was just a fucking joke. Like, I was just mucking around with a joke about car guys. These are the kind of guys who used to bash me in high school all the time. I don't know. I'm just like a fat fuck from Ipswich, and I made a joke. And now I'm like, it's like I hate working class people, and like, you know, because there's no tone, because people kind of read it as like me going, oh, why are these, you know, rev heads and whatever. And it's, you know, I don't know.
I suppose because there is the concept of sort of like, you know, cultural flattening that takes place as well, and it's like that tweet could have come from the account of an auntie in Brighton.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Almost word for word.
Yeah.
And it's and because they don't have the context of like, you know, 20 minutes of you on stage, or even just knowing who you are through your account, because it gets retweeted and retweeted across. They just cop that. They just cop a fucking, oh, who's this cunt?
And that's the thing, is like, being on Twitter, I've literally been called I've been like, I'm a lefty soy boy, I'm a socialist bong smoker, I'm a neo-fascist, I'm a crypto bro. Like, I've been called everything from like this tweet or that tweet. Like, suddenly I'm this, and suddenly I'm that, you know, because like people just decide, oh, the culture says that tweets like this belong to these kind of people. And, you know, I just don't care enough about social media. Like, I just don't want to be on it anymore.
It's interesting. We had a conversation on this show a couple of episodes ago about like, should we just quit social media? So, Twitter specifically, but should we just get off social media? And I'm researching that at the moment, like comedy and social media, like digital platforms. And the more I'm reading about it, the more I'm just like, this is fucked. This is real bad. Yeah. We should all get off it and figure out how to recreate communities, recreate industry, recreate connection, all that sort of shit. This is bad. And we're all sort of falling on different things. Like Celeste left Twitter fucking ages ago. She was also like, no, this sucks. This is no good. Yeah. Pingers, very much as you know, like with his profile, is like, no, we should use it. It's a tool. We should counter the arguments. And Taniki was falling somewhere in between. And just this week gone, he's talked about it on the pod. He's written this big article where he's just like, I'm now getting ads for the National Socialist Network on Twitter. I'm leaving. I'm good now. And I think it's just, I think we're all on the same spectrum. We're just all going to have to hit our tipping point. It might be personal or political or whatever it might be. But like, I think we're all running up to, my partner had a really good sort of idea about this, where it seems like we're at the point in talking about and feeling about social media where we were when we were starting to think that cigarettes caused cancer, but we didn't have hard evidence.
Yes.
And it's just like, they're not good for this shit. It's bad.
Yeah. My firm belief is like, I'm dead set against social media. And I say that like I belong to, like I'm on Instagram. I post on there to try and get people to come to my shows.
Yeah.
And until very recently I was on Twitter, and it's like, you know, it's one of those things where like, I mean, it's like that fucking, you know, the meme, oh, you say you're against, society, yet you participate somewhat. You know, like it's like, yeah, like we like it or not, we live in a reality where for most people being on social media is kind of a necessity for like work or for whatever. But I genuinely think that it is like overall bad, and that, you know, whilst Jordan is right with like, you know, we can organize and talk and stuff on social media, I think like you can organize, for example, you know, I hate, you know, constantly talking about American politics, but you could organize, Americans could organize an anti-Trump protest on social media, and they could network and talk to people and organize it on social media. But I firmly believe, and I do believe this, they wouldn't have to if social media didn't exist, because there's no fucking way Trump gets elected without social media.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
Like, not a chance. There's like, the traditional media is fucking bad.
That's a good point.
Like the traditional media is like feeding you misinformation or whatever. Social media is feeding you straight up absolute, like the 4 horsemen have been spotted in the Nevada desert. Like it is absolute trash. And there are good people like Jordan making good stuff.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, it is people making absolute fake garbage. And like the entire concept of fake news came about in like the terminology fake news, which Trump co-opted to refer to all news media, was literally about the actual fake news that was on Facebook, where it would be like not even real news organizations, a screenshot from a made up news organization with Barack Obama's head photoshopped next to something going, Barack Obama and crypto have, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. No, I was writing about that at the time. It was that shit where it was like, you know, Hillary Clinton gets pneumonia and or like Hillary Clinton projected to head to jail, and like the arrest warrants there. And it was like, it was young kids in like South American countries that were gaming Facebook's algorithm and making money off of it. And that's the type of shit that came through. So before Trump even co-opted it, we were getting inundated with that shit. And like, I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like, obviously we've had worker movements forever and protests forever about things, but that is a really fucking good point that like a lot of the things a lot of the things. Cause like I'm thinking about fucking Posey Parker and the TERF movement and shit. I feel like a big part of their amplification is social media, and that type of rhetoric gets spread easily and quickly on social media, and we can organize against it on social media. But we are just sort of pushing shit uphill like a dirty Sisyphus. Just like, we log back on every day and we go, back to pushing this shit up the hill.
I genuinely think like there's a real, and I think like what doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that we know like this. I can't remember how many times it has been found out. I remember like ages ago when I was at Tonightly, there was an article come out, this investigation that found out that a Black Lives Matter protest and a counter Black Lives Matter protest were both organized by Russia, like by an account, like it was a small one, but you know, whatever. It was like these things, like the amount of fake accounts, like, and something that really hit home for me was literally when I made a sketch called Mr. Oily, which is when and I did it first on Tonightly, but I did it on this ABC show. And it was literally, the sketch was, I was covered in oil saying, I'm Mr. Oily, I'm the slipperiest boy in the neighborhood. And I was slipping around on a tarp. And it was me in my underwear slipping around. And also a lot of that, there's some people that really like Mr. Oily. A lot of people have told me to start an OnlyFans, and I kind of wish I did during the lockdown. But anyway, I made this video, I posted on Twitter, and literally there is nothing there. You couldn't even interpret that anything political or social is happening in this video. Yeah. It is a man covered in oil going, I'm the slipperiest boy in the neighborhood. That's it. And I got a comment saying more woke leftist bullshit from the ABC. And then I got another comment that was the exact same one from another Twitter account with like one of them had like a Family Guy profile picture. The other one had a Ned Kelly profile picture. They both had. And then I clicked through. Both of them had similar tweets.
Yeah.
Both of them were tweeting about politics in like 6 different countries.
Yeah.
So like talking about a local election in Canada, then talking about me on the ABC, and both of them were tweeting the exact same copy pasted Bitcoin or like some kind of coin.
Yeah.
Like buy this coin. Like that's not real. Those like I was mad at this. Like that those aren't real people.
Yeah. It's that the dead internet theory is just correct. Most accounts are bots.
Yeah, there's like so many bots.
There was this thing, I've talked about it before on this show, but like have you seen the Prawn Jesus stuff on Facebook, the AI slop? There was just this thing that went around for a while where the AI was feeding itself over and over. So there was all these pictures of like AI Jesus that were coming out and all the comments being like, amen, beautiful picture. But they somehow got looped in with other types of pictures. So there's these horrible like eldritch horrors of like Jesus floating above an ocean, but his arms are prawns and he's got like a lobster tail and he's got like hundreds of antennae coming off the back of his head. But all of the comments are still like, wow, amen, power be to God, glory. Like there was this other fucking study that a few researchers did where they posted a Facebook status update, but the update was written like it was a caption for a picture at a wedding. And like 50+% of the comments are like, wow, she looks gorgeous. What a beautiful bride. It's like, this is fucked. This is cooked. This is not good for the few people who are still on here, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Prawn Jesus kind of is making me think that AI is okay. Like it's making me a believer. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like just the amount of like actual slop. And you know, the other thing is I love those bloody Kurzgesagt videos. You ever watch those Kurzgesagt?
Who?
Kurzgesagt, the YouTube channel. They mostly do like science videos. They do a lot of stuff that's like little animation, infographic stuff, and they'll be like, they'll do stuff like, what if we got a kilogram of material from the core of the sun and put it on the Earth? What would happen? What would happen if we set off a nuclear bomb in the Mariana Trench? And they're a fun little channel. Like I quite like them. They're all science based and do a lot of stuff about climate change and all that.
Yeah.
But they did one that I really liked that was based on some research that they've linked to. It was talking about social media and how bad it was, really.
Yeah.
And they challenged the idea that it's the echo chambers and said it's actually the fact that you're constantly butting up against people with different opinions to you, but there's no social contract where you have to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Like, because in real life, you know, if me and my dad disagree on politics, like he's my dad still, and like I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to kill you, cunt.
Well, even that, like we know what happens. You go, nah, sorry, the swastika's crossed out, and he goes, oh, okay,
yeah,
like that's in real life.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing is like it's like, and I'm convinced that most people, like that a lot of people vote on things on a pretty aesthetic level, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like I've said this a million times before, but I think the reason that someone like Barnaby Joyce gets elected is because he wears a big country hat.
Yeah. Like that's why they all try to wear big country hats when they're doing country stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like someone who's like from the Greens who like like might actually have a policy that is going to benefit a farmer or someone who lives in the bush, they're like, yeah, but you look like a fuckhead and you sound like a fuckhead.
Yeah.
So no. And that's the thing is like, and I talked about this in an episode, like, yeah, lefties, and I'm putting myself in this, we can sometimes be insufferable. You know, we can be annoying. And you see the worst of us online. You see the worst of us on social media. You see the worst of anyone. And like, I think people just hate, the aesthetics of leftyism, of progressive politics, of left-wing politics. I think they hate the aesthetics of it a lot more than they hate the actual content of it.
Yeah.
Because half the time you listen to someone like Bobcat or even One Nation, sometimes they'll accidentally say something that you're like, that's pretty socialist. Like, and you know, the amount of conservative people or the amount of like rusted on Labor voters I've heard that I'm like, what you're describing is not Labor. That's like Victorian socialists.
Yeah.
That's who you should be voting for. But they're like, no, they're all fucking hippies. Like
they're all annoying uni students, or you know, the Greens are either like hippies for the older generation, tree huggers, or they're like idealistic young kids that are annoying. They think they know better, but the real world's out here. There was an interesting fact. I don't know if the exact statistic, but I think in America, they haven't had a president under 5'5" more than twice.
Really?
Like they like a good indication of whether someone will become president, I don't remember the exact stat, is if they're tall or not. Like if they just have a better, because it's just a big boy. It's just a big boy to vote for. And Trump is a big boy to so many people.
He's a big boy.
And like, I'm glad that Australia has such a deficit of charismatic politicians, because like Dutton's not charismatic.
No.
He tries to project tough man. He tries to project like a pro-cop, big military. I used to be an ex-Queen, but he's just limp. And Albo's just limp. And like, and to your point as well, my dad has gone from, he lives in Dutton's electorate. My dad's an ex-Vietnam vet. Dutton has helped him on things specifically. And he has, Max Chandler Mather caught his attention because of how he spoke in Parliament. And he was like, oh, he bloody gives it to him. He fucking sticks it to him, doesn't What about? Oh, he was talking about, you know, the policy on the he doesn't let him fucking get away with it. Yeah. And he just liked that he was shouting.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And that's the fundamental lesson. I think no one in Australian politics, not many people, have learned about Trump, is Trump just sounds like an actual person.
Yeah.
Like so many politicians, like he's such a piece of shit, but he sounds like a person. Whereas politicians, they have everything seems measured and curated, and they'll answer questions with, let me just say, what a great question. And I think what we need to do, and like we can see through that. We've been able to see through that for years. And it used to be that every single person was like that. So that's the only choice you have. Yeah.
What we have to choose from are the people who sound like that. That's just the baseline. And then, Trump has come along. Arguably there's other ones like, is it Milei in Argentina, that weird cooked unit with the chainsaw and stuff. I'm like, he's just, he doesn't even need to be normal so much as different, because what's fucked us is politics broadly, neoliberal politics from the 80s. The consensus doesn't fucking work. So people are just keen for a change, and the change can be aesthetic.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it is. Trump isn't a billionaire, but he styles himself as a billionaire, surrounds himself with billionaires. He is the swamp that he wants to drain. And people will still just go, yeah, but it feels different.
Yeah, exactly. And I could be making this up in my head, but I feel like I read somewhere that like the person most likely to sway a Trump supporter was like Bernie Sanders.
Yes, no, 100%. Steve Bannon has talked at length about how Bernie Sanders was the biggest threat to Trumpism, to the international right movement that he's building. That sort of politics was a threat to Bannon. And he also took a lot of stuff from Bernie's campaigning and political stylings, and he's upfront with it too. He's just like, that's what would have ruined us, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, totally. And it's again because he just talks like a fairly normal person. Yeah, and doesn't seem to. And that's the thing is like I think like I try and tell people as much as possible like just vote on fucking policy. Yeah, vote on like what is good. Like who cares? try not to give a shit if someone is charismatic or whatever. Like what do they do? What do they actually do, and what do they want to do? And then at the same time, if I could, I would say to people that are trying to run is like, also try and talk like a normal person.
Yeah.
Try and just fucking be, I mean, I hate to use the word normal, but like
in a political sense, it makes sense.
In a political, like not a politician. Don't be a politician, and don't constantly use big, crazy. Don't use big words. Like seriously, like, and that's not me saying like I don't think that people are dumb. People have shit to do. Like before I went to uni, like I wasn't a dumb person, but if you'd asked me what capitalism was, for example, I'd be like, oh yeah, like making money. Like that's what it is. Like, don't like just convey things in simple language that people can understand, people who have got a fucking million bills to pay and shit to worry about.
Yeah.
It's why, like, when I was at uni, I remember university politics really opening my eyes because I went to uni at UQ in Queensland, and the Young Liberals, they really dominated while I was there.
Yeah.
And the Young Liberals, like, the socialists would always talk about really big issues and in a way that felt alienating and, like, it's hard. Like, it's like I don't disagree with what you're saying because they talk about things like the Iraq War. But it's also like, yeah, and we're all stressed and broke, and we're uni students, and whereas the Young Liberals would go, we want a new Subway in the cafeteria, and they would constantly put on sausage sizzles. Like the Young Liberals constantly put on sausage sizzles, whereas the socialists wouldn't do. Like the only time you interacted with them was when they were telling you how terrible everything was.
Yeah.
And the Young Liberals were like, hey, there's a sausage sizzle. What do you reckon? New Subway in the cafeteria? Dog? And then
yo.
And people would vote for it, and the Young Liberals dominated.
Well, I mean, like it's pretty fucked to say, but like Max Chandler Mather does this, and he's fucking great for it. He spends a lot of his own money putting on like free breakfasts, lunches for school kids and shit like that. Like he feeds his fucking community. But also, like, that's what Hitler did when Germany was really fucked economically.
It's a trick.
He met them at their level and was just like, it's a trick in the way that like politicians sort of seem to miss it and people like think there are these bigger issues. But it's that thing I talked about before. Material conditions trump ideology. If you're fucking hungry, you'll vote for the person giving you food.
Yeah.
And if
100%.
you the person who meets you where you are gets at least the sort of connection with you.
Yeah.
And yet we have, the Labor Party, I don't know if you saw their cost of living relief, was that they're going to offer $3,000 interest-free loans for people in need. And they're putting $48 million into it, but they're not taking the $48 million and giving it to people. They're giving that money to Shepherd Australia or some shit who does these loans through NAB. So they're just giving money to NAB and this not-for-profit to better administer more loans to people. So if your fridge breaks, you can take a loan and then fucking have to pay it back. But there's no interest, and isn't that great? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just give them money. Just give them money for a fridge.
That's wild. This is the first time hearing about that, and that is fucking wild.
It's fucked, dude. Like, and again, it comes from that, like, that out of touch, like, well, when I was running my logistics company and we had a problem with our overheads, I managed to work out an interest-free loan and it really saved me a bunch of profit in the long run. So this person on Centrelink should like it and should be grateful, or they're big pieces of shit. I hate, like, that's the attitude from our politicians. But no, it's just give them money. Just meet them where they are. Just help people directly.
Exactly. And I
mean,
be
normal.
Yeah. And just be like, but that's the thing, that stuff works because at the end of the day, you go, well, I mean, this is money. Like, this is $3,000. Like, I can buy a fridge. Like, if you like, it's like, like it's like, when you're going to do your grocery shopping and you're like, and you might go, you know what? I don't want to shop at Woolworths. I don't want to support Woolworths. I don't want to do that. But also, I've got fucking $12.67 in my bank account.
Yeah.
And the bread and the milk there is cheaper because, they're ripping people off. But at the end of the day, I've got $12.67 in my account. I'm going to Woolworths.
Yeah.
I don't even know what but it's just like, I just feel like lefties like sometimes have a problem with just engaging with people and engaging and lefty politics has a problem with engaging with people in a way that is just, it doesn't feel like I need a university degree to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And where you're actually talking to me on my level and in a way that, you know, I feel like I can connect with.
It's starting to turn around, I feel.
Yeah.
Like,
I do agree it is getting better, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting better. I remember like 10, 15 years ago, like the Socialist Alternative crew were fucking insufferable. And not to say that they're very sufferable, but like it's like it is all getting better. And again, like, you know, I'm biased. I'm mates with him. He's great. But like the shit Pingers does is just fucking direct. He doesn't need to put forward a Leninist reappropriation bill. He just needs to go, rent's fucked. Look at this shit rental. Landlords are fucked. Let's do something. It's just, it's where people are. And again, I wish our fucking major parties would do that.
Exactly. And that's what really impressed me. Like, I think my first exposure to Pingers was on like a project interview.
Yeah.
And what really impressed me about him was the way he talked on that interview in such a really direct, and I could be getting this kind of wrong. I can't remember if Steve Price was on it, but I feel like Steve Price was on it.
Yeah.
And he said something like, do you think this is, you know, do you think like squatting in people's homes is like the best way to get policy change? And he kind of said, and I'm paraphrasing and I could be getting it wrong, but he kind of said something like, I don't care. Like if people, if people need a roof over their heads, here is a roof that is available now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, if someone is homeless and they need somewhere to stay, here is a roof.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, that I fucking loved, you know, like it's talking directly and in a way that's just saying, like fucking, like this is what needs to happen. Rent is fucked. Landlords are fucked and it needs to change. And I hope he gets elected.
Right.
To be, you know.
Me too. I want to get elected so I can do a podcast with a sitting senator. I think it's fun as fuck. But yeah, it's also that thing of like just short circuiting the bullshit. Just like, because like media figures, traditional media also have this sort of entrenched way of doing things, and they talk to politicians in certain ways. And so politicians can be better or worse at this media game. But I think it's also why Jackie Lambie cuts through, because she just goes, fucking no. It's like, we can just disagree with this entirely. I thought you were going to dance around and you were going to like I can imagine you ask Albo or something or someone that question of like, is it all right to squat? And it's like, well, look, the housing crisis at the moment, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Answer shit directly.
Yeah.
The first time you're asked, and be honest, because people can tell when you're being honest, and then be good. This is, I think, the difference. These politicians can't be good because they have a shit moral compass and they're beholden to their big business friends. So they can't just be honest with what they want to do. What they want to do is they want to say, I don't care. But they want to say, I don't care when someone says, are you going to raise welfare? They want to go, I don't give a shit. I don't think about poor people at any point in my day until you fucking ask me this question. So I'm not going to do anything about it once this interview's over. Fuck off.
Yes.
That would be an authentic thing from them. That's what they should do. Yeah. So we can all go, oh, that's what I'm voting for. But instead we've got the aesthetics, like you said, the veneer of it and this,
Exactly. And I think that's like, if I could say anything good about someone like Pauline Hanson, which would not be
I'm putting this online. You're going to get some comments.
Is that she's done great things.
He's just having a joke, folks.
I didn't want to say anything good about Pauline Hanson, but I do want to compare Pauline Hanson to Peter Dutton, right? Yeah. Whereas Pauline Hanson, and I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about this. This is just the vibe I get. Pauline Hanson, I believe, has a beating heart somewhere in her. I believe she is like Darth Vader. Like, the things that she stands for and what she does and what her party stands for are evil to me and reprehensible to me. But I believe that she believes she's doing the right thing. And I believe, and maybe this is too rose-colored glasses, but I believe if you put Pauline Hanson in a refugee camp for a month, she would go, oh, wow, my eyes have been opened. But no, maybe not, but maybe I believe there's a chance. Yeah. Like, I believe there's a chance that, like, you know, that if I think she's just like a fearful person who fears what she doesn't understand. I think she's like, she's reactionary. She's fearful. I think, conversely, Peter Dutton, I truly believe that if someone gave him enough money, he would sell his kids. Like, I think he is a sociopath. I truly do believe it. I don't believe there's any human empathy in him. I genuinely don't. I don't think for a moment he cares about Australia. Like, I think Pauline Hanson is completely misguided, completely misdirected, and has gone down a path of the dark side. But I think she thinks she's doing the right thing. I don't think Peter Dutton gives a shit whether what he does is the right thing or the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I think he cares like how to line his pockets.
Yeah. I feel like with Hanson, it's at the level now where like she's had long enough to have her mind changed. So she's irredeemable to me. But
Yes.
I do take your point that she has conviction is one thing.
Yeah.
And I also do think that if she wasn't a politician for the last little while, also she spent some time in jail. And as we know, recidivism rates when you spend time in jail are really bad. So that's on the system, man.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like there was a chance 20 years ago before it became more her brand that she definitely could have just been like different. Whereas I don't know if you know, but Peter Dutton tried to run for federal parliament, I think when he was 19 and lost the election and then became a Queensland cop. He wanted to be a politician from the fucking start, man.
Wow.
And a politician in the Howard government was like, at his local branch, and was like, you should be a cop first. You should go do a job for a while first. No one's going to elect a 19-year-old man. Like, go do something fakely real. And but that's the big thing as well. They have those terrible pieces of shit. Tanuki's talked about this too with the cookers, that some of the neo-Nazis, whatever. Like, they believe in their shit. And it is more authentic than the center-right and center-left, nominally center-right, center-left, main political shit and media shit that we get, which is why I think people get sucked into it on social media and then turn it into their politics. Because there is an authenticity to what they're fucking doing.
Well, that's it. And I want to walk back on my comments on Pauline Hanson a little bit because I just want to be so clear how much I hate Pauline Hanson. I just want to be so clear on that. And
no, I know.
But also and I do agree that, she is irredeemable. Like, and it is far too late. And I don't actually think there is hope for her. I guess what I'm saying is I do believe that she actually is a racist. Like, in the sense that she believes in the racism. Like, whereas I believe Peter Dutton doesn't believe in anything. Yeah. I believe that he would be like, will racism get me votes? Then I'm a racist.
Purely mercenary.
He's purely mercenary. He doesn't care about anything other than himself and his own pocket. And I believe that is what the Liberal Party is. They're not like anything other than let's give money to our private sector mates in exchange for favors, in exchange for getting a cushy private sector job when we leave. Yeah. We want power. We want money. It's like Veep, right? At no point in the show Veep, which I love, by the way, is my favorite show. But I just watched that show and I'm just like, I bet that's what it's like. At no point does she actually think about the people or what's right for America. She's just what is right for getting me elected. Yeah, I'll believe 100%. What I need to believe to get me elected.
Well, I think as well, talking about like Pauline Hanson, I don't think could have a come to Jesus moment now. And I specifically believe that because she's been in politics too long. And this is my worry about the Greens. And it would be my worry about Jordan if he's there for however many terms, is that you either get into politics and survive because you are the type of person that is mercenary and doesn't give a shit, or you're there long enough that you turn into that. Those are the only two options.
What's the Batman quote? You live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
It's like because that's the structure of politics that we have. That's the only way you can continue to survive in that fucking environment of lobbyists and real power and all of that sort of shit. Yeah. We're running out of time. It's like hypothetically, neither of us have things to do. But I wanted to ask you something really specific, totally tangential to what we've been talking about, but somewhat related to what we were talking about a while ago of you can say certain words or phrases or whatever, and people sort of get tense in a comedy show and you have to navigate it. one thing that I have always liked about your comedy is your fantastic taste in music. So your podcast has an intro song by the best band in Australia, Totally Unicorn.
Yes, best band in Australia. Yeah.
If anyone listening has a chance to see them live, you have to see Totally Unicorn. They're genuinely the best fucking band in the country.
They're so fucking good.
One of your first shows, one of the first full shows I saw of you started with Falling Away From Me by Korn, where you just air guitared on stage for a good chorus, verse, and second chorus.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure in that show as well, you had a record, like a vinyl record seller ask you questions that were clearly supposed to be like, ha ha ha, what a niche dumb joke. That's probably made up. And I could fucking answer them because some of the answers were like anal cunt, like grind, like weird grindcore acts. So I'm like, oh, you are a metalhead, like, or at least enjoy metal.
Yes.
But so what I wanted to ask specifically is,
yes,
how do you navigate the use of that type of music, considering, in my experience and from what I've seen, it tends to put people off in comedy and in non-metal situations? Do you do it deliberately? Do you find it just works? Did you learn how to navigate it? What's the go?
That is actually a really good question. And that's actually a really good question. I'm so glad you asked it.
Mitch, the structural inequalities facing metal at the moment.
I think like part of it is like, I've actually made a conscious decision to like have pre-show music be like punk or metal, like quite a lot of the time, purely because I'm sick of like, I don't know, people doing the same kinds of music. Like everyone has like, I don't want to, I also love all kinds of music. I don't want to throw shade on any other kind of music, but like you see trends in comedy of like everyone has like this particular hip hop track that they want to walk out to or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes I just like to go, oh, what's it? Something different that like not everyone does. But mostly it's for myself. Honestly, because I like to get pumped up before a show, and I'm like, I want some fucking metal. Like I want something like hectic and hardcore, like something that sort of fires me up a little bit. And also I kind of want to just go, I want to put people in a mindset straight away that, you know, there's going to be hectic stuff. There's going to be cooked stuff. It's going to be loud. It's going to be, you know, very sweary.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's sort of, you know, I play some metal. Like I still will hold back. Like I'm not going to play like Cannibal Corpse or something prior to a show.
Yeah.
I try and make it like at least, you know, something like Mastodon or something with a bit of clean singing in it, you know, but like I don't know. I just like, it's just like, it makes it, a lot of it is just for me. It's just, it puts me in a mindset and it makes me feel good. And in that show specifically, it seemed to go well, and I sort of kept doing it. And yeah, I just like you know, I like it. I think that like, you know, and I think metal as well is like a genre of music that I think a lot of people don't realize they like until they hear a real good track in a, you know, because a lot of people just avoid it completely because, you know, but then when you hear something good. With a fucking crunchy riff, and you're like, oh, that's actually all right. Yeah.
I found live. I mean, I recently had this. My band went on tour supporting Dark Tranquillity, and when we did Brisbane, it was a sold out show, and it was the first time my stepbrother had like seen me live, and I don't think he was ever supposed to really. Like, you know, it was just fortuitous, and he'd never been to a metal show before. 18-year-old gangly kid, and like. Fucking loved it because the energy was there and everyone was positive. It was great. And like, and then he's gone away going like, oh, metal's actually fucking sick. I know some of my friends would love that sort of shit. Yeah. And like, cause it is sick. People just have this idea of like, no, I don't like screaming. I don't like,
and I had a similar thing when I was like, back when I was like 20, 21, I was like backpacking. And I was in Europe and Soilwork were playing at a gig in Paris. And it's like, it's so crazy thinking back to then and being like, I remember the gig was like €10 and I'm like imagine that. Like it was so affordable.
Yeah. Fuck.
And like, and there's this American dude at the hostel I was staying at. And he was like a real like hippie dude, like proper, like tie-dyed shirt.
Yeah.
He was staying at the hostel, but he was also sometimes staying at this bookstore because he was a writer and like, you know, real full on hippie dude. And I say, I'm going to this concert tonight. And he's like, just by myself, you know, and it's this band called Soilwork. They're a metal band from Sweden, that Swedish, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I've never really listened to metal. It's too aggressive for me. Like he was saying, it's like, I don't like to be angry. I don't like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then he said, you know what? I'm on holiday. I'm going to have a new experience. I would like to come with you. And he came to the show, and we're at this Soilwork show. And I remember just being there, like just sort of banging my head and watching it. And then suddenly he's gone. Like I can't see where he is. And he was there in like a tie-dyed shirt and everything. And I'm like, oh, maybe he just didn't like it. And then suddenly I see him on the stage going like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then like jump out into the audience. And I was like, yeah, man, it's cool. Give it a chance.
That's sick.
Yeah. That was a good time. But yeah, I often play metal and punk and stuff before my shows because it just pumps me up. And you know,
which I think like the show that I saw as well, like it was a show about Centrelink and like being on Centrelink. It was a fucking great show. But like the whole thing was like it was a sketch almost of you as a younger self. Like either waiting for a phone call from Centrelink or you get one at some point. But what you're doing is hanging out in the lounge room, like listening to Korn, having a good time. And I feel like framing it inside a sketch gives people permission to go, oh, it's actually not that bad. Like it's part of the whole thing. But even if it's before the show, I just feel like if you feel good or you're clearly enjoying it, then people just sort of go, oh, it is okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not listening to it in a vacuum. I'm giving context to it being good because this man clearly likes it.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, and also as I keep doing shows, I seem to find myself getting more and more of an audience that just definitely just likes that kind of music anyway, you know, like, so, you know, it's just how it happens, but yeah.
Works itself out. Man, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun. It's been a fun little chat.
This was sick.
And good to get my head out of my festival show for an hour.
Yeah, sick. Well, we're glad we could do that. Now to put your head right back in it, Geggy, the Melbourne International Comedy Festival from this Thursday, the 27th for, what is it, 10 days?
10 shows, yes.
10 shows?
Yes.
Yeah, so go and get your tickets. Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.